Preparing live streaming. Yes. Okay. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Lunar with Christine. Once a month, we will invite Christine to here to share her observation of the stars. Hi, Christine. How are
Hello.
you?
Well, I'm back on UK soil, and it was a very complicated journey back, but we should definitely talk about Norway.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's a fantastic place, isn't it?
well, it is, and I think that's my sixth visit there since 1990. It's not that I go off,
Uh-huh.
but this was a very special trip because I've been working with this particular client, I don't know, but maybe about 8 or 9 years, and
Uh-huh.
he credited me with finding a property for her, which is actually a farm. And
Uh-huh.
it's south of Oslo by about 2 hours drive. And the interesting thing about that is the techniques that I used to do that. I mean, I don't deserve credit for it. She actually found the place in the end. I just narrowed down the area, and I used the parans on the astrocartography,
Uh-huh.
and I used the local space. But it was extraordinary how precise the astrology was. That the astrology was quite
Wow.
clearly saying, look, it's this area, and the people who own it they've been there for a long time. One of them is probably in hospital. I mean, it was remarkable how exact it was. However, she's now got all this, and she's going to be having a proper business venture there. So I was over there to do that, but also to look at Norwegian stocks because she's a heavy duty investor. So I was looking at things like Norsk Hydro and well, various what generally her portfolio. And
Mm-hmm.
in doing that, because it's actually been a couple of years since we've done that in depth, and I discovered that a couple of things I'd done really well with, which was wonderful. But I learned so much about the ones that I got wrong, and I just I think one of the best bits of the trip was actually discovering that the two companies where I'd misread the
Oh,
signals. I,
okay.
I won't do it again, but you always learn by your mistakes. So
Yes.
it was really, really good to do that. And also to get in tune. I mean, it was incredible. I had done some research about solar stocks. I'd found
Mm-hmm.
a company which I thought that it would be worth her while investing in. It turned
Mm-hmm.
out when she and I then did the work on it, that the guy who's the head of it is actually related to her, albeit softly, softly, like a second cousin or something.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It's just the most remarkable, everything just sort of fitted until and included, which you will love this. I went to hear a talk on Old Norse.
Mm-hmm.
I'd already been to the Viking Museum, and I'd
Yes.
noted that the heart of the Viking period was the very last Neptune-Pluto conjunction, which was
Wow.
at 28. Well, so sorry, very last conjunction in Taurus, which, as you
Uh,
know, they move along about 5 degrees each time.
yes.
So the one that we had in 14, whatever it was, there's the Christopher Columbus one, and then of course we had the
Yeah.
1891 one. But the ones prior to that were all Taurus, and the Vikings were there just at the very end of that. And
Mm.
if what do you think of when you think of Vikings? What
Oh,
what's
I
the
think
what's the first image you have?
ocean. Oh, the warrior, sea warrior,
Yeah,
sailor.
yes, right. Well, you will love this because the time when they were at their peak, there was a Uranus-Pluto conjunction in Pisces.
Wow.
So I had a fantastic time going around this exhibition because although it was all in Norwegian, the
Yeah.
names weren't obviously. So I was
Yeah.
just converting things and then going back and checking all this stuff. So that was a great adventure. And then I went to hear somebody talking about, these the movie Valkyrie and
Yes. Yes.
and like Game of Thrones and all of those things. It was
Yeah.
experts who teach people how to speak Old Norse.
Uh-huh.
And of course, I desperately wanted their astrocartography. I just so wanted their charts, like,
Oh, wow.
please, please, can I have that? So obviously I couldn't have the times, so I couldn't do the astrocartography, but I
Uh-huh.
could get their dates of birth off the internet, right?
Uh-huh.
And both of the people had planets that linked up to that Uranus Pluto in Pisces. I mean, like bullseye hits.
Wow.
It was just incredible. So yes, it was a really fantastic trip. I didn't finish the work, so I have to go back. And the
Uh-huh.
I'm going to go back as soon as the AA conference is finished. I'll be on the next flight.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's yes. So anyway, yes, so I'm full of that. But could we also talk about flying?
Yes, please.
Well, that was actually my worst ever flight coming back.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
it's only supposed to be. Sorry, this is going to lead us into the Manchester airport thing, right?
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes.
I do have clients who ask me all the time, is this flight okay, or should I take this one or this one? And you don't know
Yeah.
what time the thing's going to take off anyway. So I like that. To me, that's all in the lap of the gods. I didn't check. I didn't look
Mm-hmm.
to see what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
So we left Oslo on time, and I was
Mm-hmm.
absolutely exhausted. I fell sound asleep on this plane, which is a 2 hour trip. It's nothing, right?
Yeah.
About an hour in, I heard the captain speaking, and I said, "Sorry, we have a problem. We can't land at Gatwick.
Oh.
Gatwick can't accept us.
Oh.
It got to circle for an hour, and I haven't got enough fuel for that. So I got to take you someplace else. So I'm going to take you to Stansted, right? But you can't get off in Stansted because I can't do the baggage and whatever. You'll have to stay on the plane whilst I refuel, and then I'll fly you on to Gatwick." Right?
Ouch.
Ouch. Yes. So it was an incredibly long trip back. And of course, I checked the details of the flight afterwards, and I can't see anything particularly obvious there. Maybe there
Mm-hmm.
was, but it
Yeah.
really put me in the mood for checking up on flights. And of course, now we have both Mars and Jupiter going through Gemini together. I'm just
Mm.
wondering how much more communications chaos there might be, because we're seeing it in politics, travel,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're seeing it right across the board. So anyway, can I show you two charts?
Yes, please.
Because I just think you might be really interested in this. Um, to, there we go. I'm going to share my screen, and then I'm going into this. Have you got my screen now?
I think so. I think so. Yes.
Well, first of all, I'm going to show you that Norway flight, because maybe your other people can see things I can't. But we
Uh-huh.
we left on time, right?
Uh,
Yes, Mars was just setting. I,
yeah.
we left on time, and if I'd been looking at this, I might have thought, well, we might have landed early. I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
but the moon position,
Mm.
I don't know. Was it the quincunx to Uranus? I
Uh,
honestly,
yes, yes, it is. It is quincunx to Uranus. Yes, Uranus. Yes, indeed.
but would that have been enough to tell me that it was going to be a tricky flight? Because
Probably,
it
probably
actually,
not.
no, I don't think
Yeah,
it would. So,
yeah,
um, maybe coming into the square to Neptune,
yeah. That could be. Yeah,
um,
that could be.
and that would, of course, explain the fact that we didn't have enough fuel to circle.
Yes, that is possible. That is definitely possible. Yes.
Um, but it wasn't, there was nothing really sort of, so in my face for this one.
Uh-huh.
But I tell you what, there is.
Okay.
So, of course, following this, I'm into sort of air stories, and then I heard about this incident at Manchester Airport.
Yes.
Which, can you just think about what that will be doing now? Because there will be lots of people who have booked travel already to go from
Mm.
Manchester Airport. Their
Yeah.
trust is going to be gone to pieces, isn't it? Right.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
I don't know about you, but I don't think I would be thrilled to be asked to travel from Manchester Airport presently, or indeed Gatwick actually. But the couldn't land apparently was they didn't have enough ground staff.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Anyway, just have a look at this. I went to get the chart for the opening of Ringway Airport, which is the Manchester airport,
Uh-huh.
which goes back to 1938.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
there we go.
interesting.
Right. It's a very interesting chart because although I can't be sure of the exact time, and there were flights actually before then, but it was the 25th of June. So it's, it's having its birthday today. So it's kind of appropriate
Yes,
to have a look at it. Right?
indeed.
But it's on a Uranus return. Right? So
Yeah.
that would have put us onto alert for something,
Mhm.
wouldn't it? Like 84 years old, it's ready for some kind of refit. We now know it needs new electrics, but we didn't know that then. Okay. But
Yeah.
the moon position, could
Yes.
be early. If you said it was 9 in the morning instead of 11, then
Yeah.
you might actually be on the moon point right now.
Yes, indeed.
So, of course, that bit I don't know, but I do know something else. I do know there's a chart. Do you know this book? Maybe your people don't know this book. Do you know this?
The
The New Astrology of Towns and Cities?
Oh, I don't know about that. That sounds so cool.
Oh my God, right. Okay, well, we're going to stop for a minute and let me tell you about this. Right.
Okay.
This book, which was republished by the Urania Trust, and I'm really pleased that I had a lot to do with this one.
Oh, wow.
It came out of the AA in about, oh, I don't know, the early 50s or so, published a book by a guy called Harold Wigglesworth, who did the
Hmm.
research of every town and city in the UK. And he went and got their incorporation charts. So it was a very slim little book, and it did have a couple of errors in it. So, and there were very few copies left, practically nothing, right? And they were in bad state anyway. So
Hmm.
the Urania Trust went into partnership with this lady who's brilliant, by the way, and we published this book, which is this, this is all the UK charts in it. So
Oh, wow.
we have a chart for Manchester, and
Uh-huh.
incredibly, the position of Jupiter, and you
Uh-huh.
could Jupiter, you could link that to flight easily, couldn't you?
Yes.
Jupiter in this chart is at 5 degrees of Libra, right?
Okay.
Which is where we had that lunar eclipse
Yes,
back
indeed. Early this year. Yes.
earlier this year, right? Now, I haven't done all the research on this, but I've known that chart for years because my Mercury is at 5 of Libra, and
Uh-huh.
I studied music at the Royal Manchester College of Music, so it was,
Uh-huh.
I was sucked into it. So anyway, I think the combination of that chart for Manchester, that lunar eclipse,
Mm-hmm.
plus this chart for Ringway Airport, really
Mm.
tells you there was a crisis in the making. That was the first
Yeah.
thing. But the
Mm.
bigger crisis is going to come in the middle of August. And
Okay. Yes.
because on the full moon, the 19th of August,
Mm-hmm.
which incidentally is on the astrologer's degree, Jupiter and Saturn will be at right angles to one another. It's the first phase of
Okay.
their conjunction.
Yes.
But they're right angling at 18 of Gemini and 18 of Pisces. So
Mm.
they're going to be, the Saturn is going to oppose the Neptune of this ringway,
Yes.
and Jupiter at square to it. So
Yeah.
I'm I'm not very confident about how efficient things are going to be in Manchester through the summer.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Yes, with that, both a square, the Neptune sounds like a little bit tricky. Yes.
Yeah, I think it does because I mean I mean we can look at this and say Neptune in Virgo is not it's not the best place for organization, is it?
No.
And the the potential for lost baggage.
Yeah. Yeah, likely. Looks like misplaced. Yes.
I mean, I'm sure they're going to resolve it because Uranus will also trine off to the Hygeia and things. I'm not saying it's all going to be bad news, but
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't like to be the head of that company now. Whoever's right,
Yes.
that's a, he's not going to have holiday, that's for sure. He, she, it, um, no holiday for them.
Yeah, I think for a while that the Pluto was the opposite each other, right? Transiting Pluto is opposite the
Yeah,
ringways Pluto until now, and it will go back. I mean, from September.
well,
So
does it
that
go
sounds
back?
pretty interesting.
Does it go back as far as
No,
2855?
probably not. Probably
No,
not exact.
but
No, no,
but
no.
but it's very close. You're right. It's very close.
Yeah.
And of course, Uranus is very close to its south node position. So
Yes.
it yeah, it's not the easiest of charts, is it? For
No,
now.
not at all. No. Yeah.
But I'm sure we're
But
going to have lots of other flight stories. I mean, the other one,
yeah.
Rod, I don't know if you've done any work on this, but have you looked at that middle period of July yet?
Um, you mean the Mars
Yeah,
going to conjunct Uranus around the Algol?
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and
I think the it will approach from early July. Yeah, I mean the well close to 5 degree orb. I use 5 degree orb-ish. So I
yeah,
think from around 10 weekend, around 10th of July, we can start to feel it. Although I mean it's quite interesting for this particular fixed star Algol. It's so famous. All the astrologers, even they don't apply a fixed star in their chart, they still know the name of Algol.
mm,
And was a very interesting place. And I mean, today's degree would be like 26 degree total 30 minutes, according to Astro Gold or Solar Fire.
yeah,
But it is very interesting because like usually when I apply Alpha star in the chart, I just give a 1 degree orb, just to give
yeah,
1 degree. But it's quite interesting when you read William Lilly's book, it
yes.
gives 5 degree. And when I go, why? Why does the spatial one have a spatial treat? But yeah, why not? I mean, if astrologers start to use the 5 degree for algo, I'm accepted because that become a collective, a collective observation.
Well, I'm particularly interested in this because of the work that I was doing in Norway, because
Hmm.
this is picking up degrees that are important to do with oil exploration and the Norwegian chart.
Ah.
So that's making me wonder what's actually going to be happening there. And
Hmm.
it happens, the actual conjunction happens the day before Jupiter and Neptune are in a quintile to one another.
Okay.
And and given that both of them are friendly with Pisces anyway, and
Hmm.
Neptune's in Pisces, I
Hmm.
just wonder whether or not we're going to be talking about some offshore incident. Is this
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to think negatively. I'm just saying that were I to be advising the oil exploration people,
Hmm.
what would I be saying at this point?
Yeah.
And I think I would be going in very thick on risk assessment.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I would be bothered about fire and explosive,
Yes.
um, and yes, I would just be really, really into the kind of safety aspect and really hoping that the days go past and there is no incident.
Hmm.
But of course, it's not just there. It's not just Norway, is it? Because you could look at
Hmm.
the astrocartography for all of it. And actually, if you do that, you can get quite freaked out because it's just about every ocean in the world that is affected,
Oh dear.
and you start to wonder, would I want to be in a cruise ship then? Would what?
Yeah. Yeah, I think at this moment, if we read the news, those that are shipping and with those cargo shipping things, their prices going up, right? They say they are so busy include the dock and include the shipping schedule. The price is going sky high at this moment. And the only thing I so far I related was like a full moon square Neptune. But I think as you described that, I think it would be, more intense.
It's interesting this, Rob, because the other week I had to do this thing for the astrology of Latin America. It
Uh-huh.
apparently is a YouTube thing on NCGR's site now. And there are 21 countries involved there. I actually only looked at 12 of them, but they've all got their roots go back to that period between 1810 and 1830, which encompasses
Yes.
the Uranus, Neptune, Pluto conjunction. Anyway, when
Uh-huh.
I started off in Mexico and I went all the way down to Argentina, but my route took me through Panama and the whole
Uh-huh.
Panama Canal, right? And Panama has a chart that is slightly out of step with some of the others because some of the others have very definitely, they've got something at 0 degrees of Aries, which of course is going to be
Yeah.
followed by the Saturn Neptune that's coming.
Saturn, yes.
Yeah. So I was looking at Panama and seeing, because it is a financial center, Panama, because of the canal.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
But they are also in a position that it's a bit like Suez, really, where they could say, we're closing it, you pay us more money before you come through. So I'm with you on this idea that the cost of movement of goods by sea, I think is going
Mm.
to increase. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. I also wonder about pirates, because
Yeah.
we're familiar with the pirate situation in the Gulf.
Yes.
Uh, I just wonder whether or not that won't spread. And can I really go off on one now? Because I'm really into this whole thing of space exploration and clearing up space debris and all of that.
Yeah.
I also wonder about pirating in space because
Ah,
because it is going to be possible. It will be
yes.
possible for the astronauts of one country to affect the satellite that belongs to another.
Uh-huh.
Form of pirating, isn't it? And I
Yeah.
wonder as Pluto, gathers momentum in Aquarius, if we're going to hear something about that.
Definitely, definitely. I think with the today's technology, we probably going to hear that maybe in next 10 years
Well,
or maybe soon.
I think that I was watching the news just before we spoke, and the Chinese have done this incredible feat. They brought soil samples from the other side of the moon.
Alice and Moon. Yeah.
It's great, which is a technical feat. It's absolutely amazing. But who did that soil belong to? Because we actually did have an international agreement where we said the moon belonged to everybody, right?
Mm.
What happens now if the Chinese say, well, no, actually, that soil's ours, and because it's ours, we're not going to share any of the information about it.
Yeah.
I do, I do think we're on the edge of, exploration also requires thought. It's not
Yeah.
just about going to a place; it's about the responsibility you have once you've done it.
Yeah, indeed. Yes, indeed. I think if we think about the whole human being or we just think about our own country or our own, resource, then it's like water we have. We are for last couple, decade we are fighting for the water resource between between the Asia country, between the Southeast Asia, and now it happened to the space now. So yeah, I think it worth us to consider that, especially Pluto in the Aquarius. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and I think it's more. It's always more, isn't it? Because when you start to drop in the dwarf planets into this as
Mm,
well, and look
yes.
back at those very long cycles, um,
Mm,
I do think it's entirely possible we're not the first inhabitants of the Earth. Of course,
hmm.
but I wonder whether or not this present civilization have been more careless than we needed to be.
Well, I think the our observation. I think we do very kind of really we don't really pay a lot of attention. Most people just like well, I even couldn't feed my own stomach, so I don't care about that. Or most people still not aware about that, how important this kind of climate change or everything. Like quite interesting. Couple of days ago, I've been asked about the Singapore Airlines the incident that
Mhm,
was
mhm.
shocking. And I think the another similar situation was happened a flight from Korea to Taipei a couple
Yes,
days ago. Suddenly, just like it just dropped the distance, and now everyone just in especially in the East Asia area. They're talking about what airline I can trust. Should I continue taking the flight? If there's a flight with a Boeing 737, I will refuse to boarding. I want to change my flight.
Well,
Those are people, yeah,
can I just tell you about that? Because I had dinner last in Norway and ended up
yeah,
sitting next to an American pilot of a 737. And
yes,
I was asking him about the Singapore and the other things. And I asked him what he thought. He was extremely careful with his words, extremely careful because he didn't want to put in any panic, whatever. But what
sure,
he pointed out was that during COVID, when everything was virtually grounded, because nobody could travel and whatever, many
yeah,
of the airlines got rid of their senior pilots. So you now have a lot of pilots who are not as experienced as before, but the
uh-huh,
airline owners want their bonuses. They still want to make a lot of money. And apparently, the higher that these things fly, the less fuel they use. So there's an incentive for a pilot to go a little bit to push the plane a little bit more. But
yeah,
because of climate change, and he was explaining this to me, it was actually really interesting because he was telling me all about, because the earth is getting warmer, we end up with more rain above us, and they're flying through that rain, remember,
yes,
and it's been put to us that this Singapore thing was a sudden storm in it.
yeah.
If they've flown slightly too high, then that would explain that drop at that speed in that time.
Oh,
So
wow.
uh, it was just, he wasn't saying that that was what happened. He was saying that is a possibility, right? That
Mm,
just sort of made me think a lot about, just as you were saying about the Manchester thing, is flying, is that your best way of doing anything now? Because
yeah,
they're going to have to build confidence again. And
yeah.
because Mars and Jupiter are both in Gemini, it's going to be very hard to build that confidence.
I agree. I agree, especially when everything like Uranus and first we have Jupiter now in Gemini and now Uranus next year starting to move into Gemini. That kind of the unusual, extremely things in the air with air sign that will
Well,
I think when we book a flight we should take into account.
I just tell you what, on something really interesting though. Did you see the flying car the other day? The Chinese have
Oh
come up
yes, yes,
with a flying car, and I thought, my God, when Uranus gets into Gemini, that's it. We're going to have the jetpack age. I won't have to get
yeah.
plane. I'm just
You're right.
yes, yeah.
I think that was they started commercializing in Korea now, right? The
Yeah,
flying
as well.
car.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, and I remember because when I read that news, I still remember last year when you give a talk, you mentioned about the personal, fly jetpack thing. I was like, that is so interesting. When is that going to happen? I think
Well,
when, like you say,
we're very good as astrologers at saying, oh yes, well, it's Uranus is going to do, blah blah blah, and we forget that there was.
yes,
I mean, one of my favorite talks is to talk about oil.
yeah,
When they brought oil up from Titusville in Pennsylvania, the first barrel that came up.
yes, yes,
Yes, of course you can say that that's the first, the chart from oil. Of course you can, and it's got
yes,
Pluto at 8 degrees of Taurus. But nobody
yes.
got up that morning and suddenly put all the infrastructure in for building the stuff up. It took years to both get the money together and create this machinery that would actually pump it up from the ground. So if you
Hmm.
actually go back, I think the earlier chart is actually to go back to when Pluto entered Taurus, which was
Hmm.
when Rockefeller and all these people were getting together with the idea. So
Yes.
it was ahead of the aspect, if you like.
Hmm.
I think with these jetpacks and our flying cars and whatever, they've started now, but the aspect isn't with us until next year. So the popularity isn't in yet.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, well, so interesting to chat with you about all the things that we from the energy, from resource, from oil, pirate, and space. Yeah, and what's the next financial astrology course
Oh my
from your
God.
side?
Well, it's Saturday and I'm panic stricken about it because I'm doing an event on Saturday, which is just on astro crypto.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I'm up to about 70 slides already, and
You will be fine. I know. Usually when I see your 70 slides, that's fine.
it's not good. I'm not finished yet. I've still got to get Solana into this. But anyway,
Okay.
so that's the next thing. But I was actually looking at the board. There are
Yeah.
15 presentations between now and the end of the year. So don't let me accept anything else now. We're flopped.
Sure, definitely. But
Okay?
we have to mention about the AA conference because you are going to give a workshop,
I
right?
am. I am.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about that because I've been doing some special work because I'm going to talk about the integration of the Moon, Mercury, Vesta, and Hygeia with people's. I don't want to talk. I mean, obviously, I'm going to talk about money because that's what I do, right? But
Yeah.
I'm more interested in, or as interested in spiritual wealth as I am in financial wealth, or any kind of.
Yeah.
So I want to talk
Hmm.
about, well, I just want to look at I want them to see where these waves are, because these are small waves. We talk about the big
Mm.
waves, or Uranus going into Gemini, whatever. But
Yes.
being familiar with those smaller waves can help you
Hmm.
moderate your general spending, which then leads to more security. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, lovely. I'm really looking forward to go to that workshop now. So yes, I think it's between the 28th of August to the 1st of September. I'm in Leicester, and everyone, you are welcome to join us because we got time to share our love to astrology and spend time together to chatting and even just have a drink together. And also, if you cannot join us to the in Leicester, please, there's an online conference, and then you and all this recording you can receive the access to for I think it's 3 months or something. So please go to the Astrological Association website to read more information. And the more important is the big discount going to end on 30th of June. Okay, so on behalf of AA Astrological Association, I really want to see you there, and I think Christine also want to see you there. And thanks, Christine, and thank you everyone to join us today. And then wish you have a nice summer.
Yeah. And don't forget the sunscreen. Yeah.
Yeah, don't forget. Well, we only have 1 week.